once again. We are here early on a Monday morning, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. We're here to kind of like get things rolling, knock the dust off, knock off the rust, so to speak, and get everybody ready for the week that is ahead. Coming to you live from WURD. That's radio, that's internet, that's the App Store, probably listening to it on the Mars rover. That's what they ought to be listening to. If they really want to know what's happening on Earth, is tune into WURD. In fact, if you have a tin can and a string, you can listen to the show. Somebody's probably like, Narev, I tried the tin can and the string thing you said, but it didn't work. Anyway, good morning, folks. Glad to be here. Your host, Mark Kelly Tyler, my partner in crime, so to speak. Bishop Dwayne David Royster has one more day off. He's going to be back with us on tomorrow morning. Can't wait. He and I have a lot of catching up to do. So much has happened in the world in 2 weeks and a day, and I can't wait. But you know how WURD is. I keep telling him, I'm like, look, I can do the whole thing. Just, it's all good. I don't need a chaperone. They're like, nah, you need a chaperone. No. So they told me Kuwaisa's the engineer, the producer, but I know better. What's up, Queen Kuwaisa? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm here by the grace of God. Won't he do
By
it?
the grace.
Won't he do it?
You all don't know the stuff that happens behind the scenes to get this show going. So, Kuwaisa, other than fast, how was your ride in this morning?
Oh man, so many things that I could say about my ride in this morning. Yeah, I hit a detour, and of course, the lovely people in my neck of the woods decided that it would not be a good idea to tell people ahead of time that there would be a detour. And so then, they detour people, and then they don't tell you how to get back onto your original route, and so I'm just driving around. I'm in like Walmart parking lots and like in residential neighborhoods, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm smart. But yeah, I made it, and like there's no dead air, praise God. Made it in. The weather is not too bad right now. No, you don't need a jacket or anything like that. It's gonna get hot. It's gonna get hot. The week is about to be hot. So yeah, my advice, prepare for maybe possible detours. Leave a little earlier.
Tales from Kuwaisa. So listen, thank you, Kuwaisa, for suffering for us this morning. And I'm going to just say, you got Phillied. That's what happens when you hit a detour and they don't tell you what's next. But just be glad that you didn't truly get Phillied. Because in Philly, one day I'm actually going to do like a video tour. I wish I had a drone because a drone could really catch it. But like literally, you get turned down one way, and it's like, oh crap. And then there's another one way, and you get pushed that way. And then by the time that happens like 3 times in like a very small radius, and you're thinking like, do the streets department, do they talk to each other when they give out these permits? You're finally in the clear, and bam, you get behind a garbage truck. The one you've been waiting for a week. So trust me, whatever happens in your neck, man, I'm telling you, Philly has got that in spades. But we're glad to be here on today, and happy to have celebrated another milestone birthday. That's right. I hit the double nickel, 55 this week. Had a great birthday, and so thank you to Leslie and to the kids and to all of you for all the love. I tell you, I don't know how Leslie does this, Kuwaisa, and I'm not sure about other people, but like she goes through every Facebook post to thank people, or like, I think she does like literally thank every person. Collectively, you all, thank you. I will respond to text messages, and even that's a lot because they come flooding in. But like, man, that would be like 2 days. That would kind of ruin the whole part of like you wishing me a happy birthday. It's not gonna be a happy birthday if I have to sit there and then spend the whole day saying thank you, thank you, thank you, and find it different in like, unique ways. Cause I can't just say the same thing. It's like, oh, thanks, Rob. Appreciate it, Dora Ladine. Oh, right on, Deborah. Good looking out, Bernita. Appreciate that, Mabel. Right on, Wanda. Uh-huh, Renee. All right, Kanish. See what I mean? That's just the folk on Facebook this morning. Yep. Dig it, Catfish. Right on, Nikki O'Tim. Anyway, so celebrating the birthday, I was on the motorcycle Saturday for a very long time, like you, Kwesa, hit just a ton of traffic. I mean, good God, it was just like ridiculous. And so I posted the picture of being on the bike, and a friend of mine is like, hey, he texted me. It's like, bro, I hope that picture doesn't mean you're on your way to Sturgis, South Dakota. I said, no. You ain't got to worry about me being in Sturgis during the rally. Not to say I won't roll through Sturgis at some point this year, maybe on a long ride or something, just to kind of pay respect. So for those who don't know, Sturgis is like, in the motorcycle world, it would be like Mother Bethel to an AME. It's kind of like, the grandfather of them all. You got to go through Sturgis. It is the biggest bike rally, that I know of, bigger than Daytona, bigger than the Roundup, bigger than anything else. It's like 600,000 or 700,000 people there last year during COVID. This year, I don't know what the official numbers are, but I saw pictures. Has to have eclipsed like 1 million people. And but the problem is a lot of those folk who go to Sturgis last year, they were COVID deniers by and large. A lot of people got sick and died, but nowhere near the numbers that I think all of us expected. Like, man, I'm thinking like people go to COVID this year not coming back. But turns out that it wasn't, as devastating as people thought it was going to be. So, of course, what happens. Folk get comfortable, right? And they get laxed, and it's like, oh, okay, well, that was just a fluke, and so we can go do Sturgis again. Here's the difference. This year, there is a variant out there ripping through, and guess who it's hitting more than anybody else? Of course, people who have not been vaccinated. And so you've got a very, very large group of people that have not been vaccinated, and they are all in Sturgis, taking big group pictures with like thousands of people huddled together. So I'm certainly praying for my fellow biker friends, but like the last place you would find me is in a group of anti-vaxxers and COVID deniers. No, I'm good. So no, that was definitely not my destination. So anyway, again, welcome Asa Khalif to WURD Progressive Black Talk Media. That's who we are. Got a chance to see some of you on Friday at the Love Tour with Tiffany Bacon. That'll be coming around again soon. That was pretty nice. I got there at the very end, but still glad to see your smiling faces. And speaking of COVID, today we're going to interview in just a few moments the acting health commissioner for Philadelphia, because I think it's only right that we take a moment to find out from Philadelphia's, official position, what does all this mean? Churches are talking about reopening. We're sending our children back to school. Masjids want to get back in there to have their prayers. Synagogues, other places of worship, indoor recreation, and all the other kind of things that go along with that. So we're going to hear from Dr. Cheryl Bettigold in a few moments, and she'll help break that down. Now, shout out to the men's basketball team for winning gold, like they should have. It'd be an embarrassment if they didn't. But I mean, is Kevin Durant just kind of like is he representative of kind of like where we are now, just as kind of like a people? I don't like to go the this generation thing, but like as though it's an age thing, but like this generation more like just kind of as a people. Is this just where we are right now? I mean, it's when is KD ever going to be happy? Kind of reminds me of Bill Belichick, the New England Patriots. What has he won? Like 6 or 7 NFL championships, winning his Super Bowl, winning his coach in NFL history. Other franchises have won a lot of rings, but nope, one coach has done it like he has. But just always looking like he's just eating on like lemons and rocks. That's KD. So men's basketball took a lot of incoming because, let's be clear, they were playing pretty crappy when it rolled out. And so, of course, they were getting a lot of scrutiny because you have superstars on the team, a lot of future Hall of Famers, and you're losing to people like France in these in these early rounds, getting ready for the tune-up. This is a far cry from the dream team of, Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, Larry Bird, on and on and on, that just like smashed and dominated the rest of the world. So they set such a high expectation, such a high bar. So KD doesn't quite, I don't think he understands. I mean, remember before that, they were all amateurs that we sent. And it was not until the rest of the world started, beating us and making us look mortal that we were like, nah, change the rules, send in the professionals. But it's like, dude, so Kendrick Perkins, former player, analyst, of course, was dogging them out leading into the Olympics. Like, I don't know. I'm not convinced this team is going to win gold. So what does KD do after you win? It's kind of like, bro, it's all good, man. You won. You got that off your back. Great. You can get back to the Nets, and you guys can start thinking about how to win a championship. But what does he do? You want to spend your time, talking to your detractors and to your haters. It's just like, bro, move on, man. Kendrick is doing his job. He is a analyst. He can't make money. He doesn't say something that makes people want to bring him back. And let's be honest again, you guys were not playing great. That's why they talk about you. If you were playing great, and so he and Draymond, don't put those two together. Dre's my guy, but that's just like a bad combination. It's like two kids in the classroom. It's like, oh, you two cannot sit together. No. KD on that side of the room, Draymond on that side of the room. And so the two of them are going in, and their whole question to Kendrick Perkins is, what's up, man? You're not American? You're not American? Why are you going in on us? Be patriotic. Lord have mercy. These two guys, I'm just saying, and again, I don't know if it is, if it is just kind of the times we're living in or what, but that just kind of just drives me crazy just watching that whole act. You won a gold medal, celebrate, talk about the positives, lift it up, move on. But like, going around, and to my haters. Be like winning the Academy Award and you get up there, you got the Oscar in your hand, and instead of to my family, to my supporters, and I want to just say to the directors that cut me from that first movie, I told you so. to the people in the building who always throwing shade. Like, man, dude, Catfish Hillbilly, he is not a happy person on the inside. I guess I should be more sympathetic and compassionate, but it's just too much. Anyway, look, yes, men's sport talk, Renee. I have one more day before Bishop gets here. I got to get it in. Y'all know that. Because he's going to shut all that down. I'm like, politics is my sport. So today, sports is my sport, but we're up on the break. When we come back, we're talking about something actually much more serious that can save your life and the lives of others around you, because we need to understand what's happening with the Delta variant, with COVID, and my God, all of us are going to know the Greek letter, the Greek alphabet, like Kawesa and I had to learn it when we were pledging, and others who had to learn it if you took Greek or if you were pledging, because now we've gone from Delta to Lambda, and you don't want to know what comes next. We're going to talk to Dr. Cheryl Bettigold, who is the acting health commissioner for the city of Philadelphia, about what that means for us in particular and masking up, booster shots, and any other kind of question you have, put your questions in the chat on Facebook Live or on YouTube, and we'll ask those directly to the doc. We'll be right back. It's the Power Hour.
Join the African American Chamber of Commerce for their signature Building Back Black initiative, a national convening of mayors on Wednesday, August 11th at 9 a.m. This is a free online event featuring mayors from across the country, moderated by 6 ABC Action News anchor Shari Williams, and hosted by the African American Chamber of Commerce President Regina A. Hairston. This town hall reflects on the current state of black businesses in these cities with highly dense African American populations. Additionally, local Philadelphia thought leaders are featured in this special, providing local insight and perspective. This is a free online event hosted in partnership with WURD Radio's Livelihood Initiative. Visit mayorsconvening2021.eventbrite.com to register today.
Kamasi Washington brings his fall tour to the Met Philly, one of only 6 dates on the East Coast. Don't miss Kamasi Washington October 20th at the Met Philly. Tickets on sale now as of July 30th. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com.
This is not a fad for us.
We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are
Undeniably,
indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media.
WURD.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with your host today, Mark Kelly Tyler, and tomorrow the whole team will be back assembled as Bishop Dwayne Royster returns. And I'm sure he's got a lot of thoughts about sports, right? Yeah. Anybody who listens to our program knows that is absolutely not true. But in any event, let's talk about things that are much more serious than sports. Because your life is not a game, and the life of your neighbor is not a game. I think by now, most of us thought, given what was going on a few months ago, that we'd be in a much better place, that as things were trending down all around. We were really hopeful that we could kind of roll back into the fall and it's all good, still taking precautions and still pushing vaccines. But we hit a couple of roadblocks along the way. And one of them has to do with our Southern brothers and sisters who, from the beginning, by and large, have had a different kind of energy. And I've said to people in the South, when I run into them and they tell me their experience with COVID, and in all seriousness, as a pastor, I said, well, how many people have you had to bury who passed away from COVID? Was your bulletin on each Sunday full of 5 to 10 different people who had passed or, who were immediate family members of your congregation, parents and children and siblings, spouses, here this week, gone next week? I said, there's a different experience that we in the Northeast Corridor, and, let's be clear, Philly was nowhere near what happened in North Jersey and in New York City, but we're so close to them that we feel their pain. And so, I think that we've always had a different kind of feeling about this since April or May of last year. And, but it feels like now what happened, the neglect in the South is catching up to all of us as the new variant comes in. And so we've got questions. And so when you have questions, you go to somebody who actually knows. I'm an opinion talk show host. Don't ask me, I'll give you my opinion about it. But if you want facts, let's talk to someone who actually knows. So Cheryl Bettigold, MD, who is the acting health commissioner for the city of Philadelphia, is on the line this morning. Doc, thank you for getting up and coming to join us this morning. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So, you heard me lay it out, the Delta variant and now Lambda. Can you just kind of, before we get into what people ought to do, how do you understand this moment? There's a lot of fear on the part of our listeners, but where are we really right now?
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot of fear and there's a lot of fatigue. We are just tired of this, right? We've been through this. We did the right things. We came out and had this moment of really celebration that things were so much better, and now it feels like we're headed into it again. You know, things are different now than they were when we were facing previous surges, and the big difference, of course, is the vaccine. And, you know, as we all know at this point, it's not 100%, which is true of every vaccine. Vaccines are not 100% protective, but the vaccines are really good at doing what they were intended to do, which is keeping people out of the hospital and preventing them from dying. So Philly is in a relatively good situation compared to the places in the South that you were talking about, in that we have a relatively high rate of vaccination. And among our more at-risk people, people who are 45 and older, we don't have disparities between groups. But we do have disparities between groups 44 and under. And we still just have a lot of people to reach, right? You know, we're at now 77% of adults have had one shot or more, and 63% are fully vaccinated. But that still means we have lots and lots of people still to reach in our city, and that means those people are at risk. And Delta's more contagious. So,
Yeah.
you know, we're
I'm sorry, Doc.
time.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So can you give us those numbers again about where we are for adults 45 and over who've been vaccinated in Philadelphia?
Well, for the whole city, because we do the whole city, and then we do these age cohorts. For the whole city, we're at 70% of adults. 77% of adults have had one shot or more. 63% are fully vaccinated. So whether they had the two-shot or the one-shot series, almost everybody in Philly got the two-shot series.
Well, that's good to know that those numbers are there. And does that help? Are we close to herd immunity? We've heard a lot about that terminology, something we didn't know last year. But would you classify Philly as being that, or do we still have some work to do?
Well, herd immunity is kind of an elusive concept. You know, it's this idea, and it varies by vaccine, that when you get to a certain point, and we don't know what that number is, you have enough people vaccinated that whatever disease you're trying to eliminate won't spread. And what that number is depends on how contagious the disease you're trying to prevent is and how effective your vaccine is. So as the virus mutates and changes, the number changes. And we don't know exactly what that number is. So I can tell you that we're not there yet because I'm looking at Austin, Texas. And Austin, Texas has similar vaccination rates, and their hospitalizations are shooting up.
Do you think that has to do with the fact that so I would imagine, so Philly, right, has, as you say, similar numbers to Austin, but even without knowing Austin, kind of just generally, and I'm being very general, but in Pennsylvania, we're surrounded by these collar counties that have also taken it serious. And then on the Jersey side, so it seems like there's a bigger buffer around Philadelphia. Texas just kind of seems like you leave Austin and it's like, yeehaw.
Yep. No, that is an exact description of what I think is happening and why I think the hospitalization numbers, you know, they're up a little bit here, but they're not doing anything like what they're doing in Austin. The thing that worries me is if that can happen there, it doesn't mean it could happen here if we're not careful. So, you know, yeah, we definitely have a buffer that they don't have, but have to be very aware that can still happen even with our high vaccination rate.
All right, so that's what I wanted to ask you. That's a perfect lead into this question. So let's say, Dr. Cheryl Bettigol, that you are a member of Mother Bethel and you're on our congregation's health commission. And as the pastor, I call all of you together and I'm like, all right, we're going back into worship. Our target date is September 12th for in-person. What should we consider? You know, first of all, is the 12th okay? And if it is, what kind of precautions do we need to make?
So it's a great question. And, you know, the answers are different for every individual community and for your individual members in terms of what their risk profile is. But overall, what we're looking at is first think about whether you can do outdoor services, because your absolute safest option is to get everybody outside. And I know, you know, Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's pouring, sometimes it's snowing. Obviously, this does not work every day. But if you can have some of your services outside, that's a great option if it works. Second thing, we know that crowded indoor spaces with poor ventilation are your highest risk. So you want to think about de-densifying. Some of that happens naturally because not everybody comes back. When, if you hold a service, your whole congregation is probably not going to pour in on day one. But, can you split the service and have 2 seatings so there's fewer people packed in there? And really importantly, everybody needs a mask on. Doesn't matter if they're vaccinated or not vaccinated at this stage, they should all be masked because it's going to be really hard to keep track of who had a vaccine, who didn't, unless you choose to require vaccination. And that is an option some religious communities are going with. Obviously lots of logistics there, but we kind of think of it as, you could choose to have everybody be vaccinated. That means keeping children under 12 out, though, because they're not vaccinated. It's not their fault, but they're not vaccinated. Or everybody's got to wear a mask. And the last piece of this, so outdoors, avoiding indoor crowds, everybody masked, the last piece of it is that people who are still unvaccinated, for whatever reason, should think about double masking at this stage. There's enough COVID around. You really want to be extra careful. And when I say double masking, what I mean is a disposable paper mask underneath. Some people call it a surgical mask or a medical mask, and then a cloth mask over the top. And with that double masking, you're almost as protected as with an N95 mask, which is almost impossible to wear all day.
And you said the double mask, that's for people who've been unvaccinated, or is that for everyone?
Exactly. I mean, anybody should do it, but if you're unvaccinated, I would really at this stage highly recommend that people do it.
Well, all right, first of all, I literally just took notes, all right, because we are, we put our target date out there, but again, like other clergy leaders, I'm watching the numbers and it's like, well, wait a minute, I don't know, maybe September 12th is too soon, I'm not really sure, but you just gave a really good detailed list of things for us to consider. But the one that seems to me to be a little bit more controversial is the vaccination status. And so you said people are actually, some congregations are doing that. Is it legal then? Well, I'm assuming it is, that we're not going to get sued for saying you can't come into our private property without being vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, any business, any institution can choose to require vaccination. It's just that it's complicated for faith communities, right? Because you presumably have all ages. And so for parents of young kids who are too young to get vaccinated, thinking through, well, what's your answer for them? You could decide to have your children's services outside or your family services outside. But it takes thinking through.
Oh boy. Okay. So now I just have more questions than answers now but no, honestly, this is really been, this is really informative. So speaking of children under 12, all right, so as a congregation, we have it's a lot easier for us to just simply say, well, we're not even going to do indoor service yet or in person. We're just going to hang out in the virtual space. It's been going well, by the way. But some places don't have that option, namely K through 12 schools. So what's going to happen when I'm a parent of a child who's in Philly Public. So when we send our children back, what are parents expected to have in place in just a few weeks?
So the Philadelphia schools, fortunately, have been crystal clear. They are going to require masks for students, for teachers, for everybody in the school in the fall. And they announced that, when did they announce that? Maybe a couple of weeks ago. We've been talking with them also. They're working really well with us in terms of lots of other guidelines. The thing that's really hard in a school has been the space requirements. And CDC fortunately put out some nice, clear, followable guidelines that said it's no longer 6 feet in schools, it's 3 feet that you want to keep the kids apart. And if you have a choice between, the 3 feet and being unable to bring the kids back, if you follow the 3 feet, you can relax the distance. So the biggest thing has been the focus on masks and then everything else, hand washing, cleaning surfaces, ventilation, has been a big piece of it. So the school district has been working on all of that to have it in place when the kids get back.
So have we done all that we can to make sure that so let me ask it this way and preface it by saying I've been concerned most for older teachers, teachers who have, immune issues going in, school support staff, school nurses, the, administrative assistants, the security personnel, the drivers, the custodians. There are a lot of adults who are older who have to keep a school going. We focus on it as though children go in and out of a building by themselves. So will every one of those adult persons I named, do they have access to the vaccine before going back into work?
Yeah, so they will have to be masked, and they've had access to the vaccine for a long time. We actually, in Philly, I think we were the first or one of the first cities to arrange vaccinations for all the city school teachers and staff and for early child care staff. As one of our priority groups, I want to say back in February, CHOP did a lot of those vaccinations. And so people have had access for a long time. There are still some people who haven't gotten their vaccine, and we're really hoping that they go ahead and do that before fall. But the masking as an extra layer of protection, I think, is also very important.
All right. Well, Doc, any final thing that you have? I mean, like if you just had like one message to all of us as it relates to COVID and where we are in Philadelphia, here's your moment.
I'm going to steal two. Firstly, take your chance, get your vaccination before everything kicks in. And if you have symptoms of been exposed, get tested. There's new treatments, and you want to make sure you're not exposing your friends and your family, your loved ones, to this infection. And thank you so much, Reverend Tyler.
Well, look, thank you for getting up and being with us, and we'll get you back on at some point. I know I mentioned to you before I wanted to talk about kind of the epidemic of gun violence, but we don't have enough time to unpack it with you. But again, thank you, and thank you for just being crystal clear on what the expectations are and what we should be thinking about. This is Dr. Cheryl Bettigold, Acting Health Commissioner for the City of Philadelphia. Thank you, Doc. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, folks, you got it. Listen. When I say I was taking notes, I'm not kidding. So if you have an outdoor option for your church, I don't know, maybe we think about the parking lot. September's nice weather. Maybe do the parking lot at first. But see, folk come back, they're like, no, I want the sanctuary. Because you know how it is. For some people, God only speaks in the sanctuary and in their seat that they've been sitting in for years. That's why in some churches, not ours, but in some churches, I would imagine the synagogue and masjid is the same, where people gather to stand, to pray, or to kneel. It's like, hey, that's my space. God meets me there every Sunday. Move. Now, welcome to Mother Bethel. Welcome to my church. So for some people, outside is not an option. It's like, if it's going to be outside, I may as well stay home and be virtual. I don't know. But again, I like what she said, outdoor services. Split the services. Make sure there's enough seating. Mask up. And, this one is controversial. Maybe these congregations, we just have to draw a hard line and like, sorry, if you're not vaccinated, you can't come in. But again, that impacts families who have children under 12. A lot of stuff to ponder here. These are not easy decisions, but decisions somebody has to make. I want to thank her again for coming on. We got to take a quick break, and when we come back, continue to talk about this and a few other things that happened over the weekend and kind of look at the week ahead. It's the Power Hour. Don't go anywhere.
Enterprise Exterminators, located at 4943 Wayne Avenue, has been in business since 1976 and can eliminate whatever pest problems you have. Enterprise specializes in bed bugs, lanternflies, and termites. Call for your free termite inspection today. Do-it-yourself kits are available. Enterprise Exterminators, servicing Philadelphia, Delaware, and New Jersey. Call now, 215-849-7070. Ask us about the WURD and senior discounts.
What is dedication?
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is Dariana. We call him Day Day for short. Every day he's hungry for something, whether it's attention, affection, knowledge. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that when he's no longer under my wing, that he's a good person. I want him to be able to sit back one day and go, we worked together, we did a good job.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Save the date. Thursday, August 26th for WURD Radio's annual Founders Day celebration, honoring the life of our founder, Walter P. Lomax Jr., MD.
This year will be both in person and virtual.
Stay tuned to WURD Radio and WURDradio.com for more information.
That's Thursday, August 26th for our annual Founders Day celebration.
Exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Streaming live on WordRadio.com, the Word Radio app.
Or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. Founders Day is brought to you by Pico, Keystone First, Bank of America, Ready Set Philly, Comcast, Brown's Family ShopRite, and Temple University. Now, a traffic update
On Word Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Smart Mouth, the only 24-hour mouthwash with twice daily use. Now looking at the Schuylkill Expressway, Somali building up westbound side. You're jammed up from Broad to Penrose Avenue through construction. Eastbound side, not bad yet. Westbound line from 8th Street through Broad, slow against Somali Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Southbound Boulevard Route 1 looking pretty good. Broad down to Wissahickon through the ongoing construction there. Southbound 95, Somali building a bit in the area of the Betsy Ross Bridge down through Girard against some late volume building there. Northbound side looking good this morning. 55 northbound Deptford into 42. That is busy. Big interview. You check your suit, your resume, your palms, but did you check your breath? It's Smart Mouth, the only mouthwash that provides 24 hours of fresh breath with twice 2 daily rinses. Find Smart Mouth in the mouthwash aisle at CVS or get 20% off at smartmouth.com/radio. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. Your host this morning, rolling solo, Mark Kelly Tyler. But tomorrow, Bishop Royster will be back. You know we got a lot to talk about. A lot to unpack and a lot to catch up on. And yeah. But first of all, let me just say, the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour, it was really good seeing everybody out, seeing folk masked up on Friday. And again, looking forward to seeing folk again. I don't know if I can make this one, but I'm going to, I always say I'm going to try. I say, just, whether you get there or not, I'm going to try. Yeah, I don't know how hard, but I'm going to try. But you should get there. This Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Almost seems like we need to expand that time. But again, 10 to 12, small window to get there, but it is worth the while. You can renew your onWURD membership, or you can get your onWURD membership for the first time. This time, the tour with Tiffany Bacon is rolling through North Philly. The MLK, Martin Luther King Rec Center, 2101 Cecil B. Moore Avenue, this Friday the 13th. Man, it's about two powerful names together. The MLK Rec Center on Cecil B. Moore. Psh, man, talking about folk who move some stuff, right? So get out there and join them and show some love. Dr. Cheryl Bettigold, first of all, I just really appreciate the way she put that information out. Just very, very clear. You can understand that without having to have a medical degree, which I appreciate. And I'm looking at some of your comments on social. Renee says, I think virtual, especially to keep the children safe, this is too much. Karen likes the outside option. I think we're still talking about there's kind of blurred lines between worship and the schools. But, again, here's part of the problem. What's the first story that pops up? If you go to Philly.com right now, like literally right now, there'll be a story that pops up with a family. There's a dad and his two sons. And the story, the headline is, these kids signed up to test a COVID-19 vaccine, but it will be months before approval. I mean, this is the, right? So I don't know. I mean, I get it, man. It is, I am a parent, so I'm not speaking about something I don't know as it relates to what it means for parents to have to struggle with, you know, small children or children in general who were in the home this school year. So, you know, you have a sympathetic ear with me. And people who have had to change and modify everything, you know, and I can only imagine if our children were smaller, if this pandemic went down, and when our own schedules were less flexible. You know, that's a bad recipe, a bad combination. And, you know, you got small places a lot of times, you know, small homes, and all of those kind of things, people getting on each other's nerves. And I mean, this is as she said, we're all fatigued right now. We're tired of fighting this fight. And so it's like, you know what, just send everybody back. I can't take this anymore. My hope is that in doing so, that we're not going to inadvertently put in danger like any of the people that we also love and care about. Like, again, older people who keep the system going. And again, it's not just teachers. You know, we focus on teachers and children. There are a lot of people that have to be in place. I mean, my God, even SEPTA train and bus drivers and trolley drivers who are going to come into contact with a lot more of the public in just a few weeks. So what about them? Right? I mean, is their, you know, life not something to consider as well? So it's a lot going on here. But one thing that we have already learned is this, that if you're not vaccinated, I mean, my God, think about that. I mean, not vaccinated and you don't want to wear a mask. I mean, what a couple of selfish acts. All right, you don't want to get vaccinated? Fine. But it's like she said, then at least wear a mask and double mask, you know, and don't get in people's face. Don't get in somebody's face. Long pregnant pause there. It's like, hey, let me tell you about that vaccine. It's a hoax. No, you're too far away. I want to be right in your face and tell it to you. So I didn't get a vaccine. Like, yo, back up. Come on, lady. Come on, guy. Like, Jesus. Just help me, keep me near the cross. Just stop it. So we will see. Deborah says, I'm a grandparent taking a 4-year-old through virtual pre-K. Ain't no joke. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure you want your life back. We'll get there. Let's just not kill each other in the process. Speaking of that, I said we would talk about the gun violence epidemic, and that's something we should really talk about on this week. You know, and young people, it's kind of an interesting intersection. There's certain things that you just don't have to tell somebody. And when you start hearing about certain kind of acts happening in certain places, and at certain times, and in certain ways, you can draw some pretty quick conclusions about who's doing it. A lot of this violence, people have already been saying that's going on has to do with young people. And I don't know how you don't put COVID into the equation. That COVID absolutely has to be a driving force in what's going on in our community with these shootings. And it's not just Philadelphia. Again, people, please. It's not the time to talk about Philly sucks, Philly is this. It is, there's not a place that hasn't been impacted. But when I hear that last night there was a shooting down the street from our church. Now, our church sits in Society Hill, a few blocks over. I'm not sure exactly what they call that on Lombard. between like 6th and 14th, well, Broad Street. But 13th and Lombard, a shooting, probably a folk kind of moving through. Let me jump to a conclusion. Probably leaving somewhere around South Street, because that's kind of the flow, you know, roll down South Street, come up a block, and then roll out, going back toward Broad Street down Lombard. Looks like a shooting that happened with folk who got into it with each other, bullets flying everywhere, multiple people hit. And that's when it kind of says to me, yeah, these are young people. Because somebody older is going to know there's some places you don't want to just start shooting up randomly because, let's face it, you're going to get caught. That's when you know it's just that's a crime committed by just somebody who just doesn't, it's just indiscriminate. It's like you're so caught up in your rage and in that moment that you just start shooting. It's like, you know, excuse me, young person, you are on Broad, I mean, you're near Broad and Lombard. Do you like not kind of know that this is one of those things where if, quote unquote, they don't pay attention to you shooting up yourselves in your own neighborhood, they will be concerned about you shooting yourselves up in this neighborhood with bullets flying through people's windows. I don't know. Maybe that's what it takes to put some energy behind it. But if it were me, because these dollars are about to go out next month, people are starting to turn their applications in to help stem the tide of gun violence. The city has, I think, done the right thing by giving these grants, $100,000 to $1 million to community-based organizations and community-based solutions. I wouldn't fund anybody that's not talking about having a component that deals seriously with getting to young people. Period. Full stop. That means violence interrupters. That might even include neighborhood night walks, but I don't know, because the way these shootings are happening in cars and, you know, moving around through the city, maybe instead of the old neighborhood night walk, neighborhood night driving. But there has to be something that happens that is directed at our young people. There's a lot of reasons why this is happening. We don't have time to unpack it, but if we know that's where the hot spot is, then let's put our energy there. All right? So that's about all the time that we have for today. And Bernita, no, well, yes, we have surveyed our congregation, and that is one of the questions we asked about vaccination. And I'd say in the surveys, we got a return of about 20, 25%. Well, not even, yeah, close to that, and of people who return the surveys. And so still have to kind of unpack all of that. But it seems to me that a lot of African-American congregations that kind of fit the profile of Mother Bethel certainly have a higher vaccination rate, especially among older members who kind of want to keep living to see their grandchildren, Deborah, even if they got to raise them in virtual pre-K. You'd rather be doing that than not, right? And so that kind of sounds like where we are. But, you know, again, we could talk about that on this week. We've got plenty to talk about. Again, Bishop Royster will be back on tomorrow. Thank you, Kwesa, for holding it down. Thanks to all of you on YouTube, on Facebook Live, for your comments and your interaction. And thanks to everyone else who is listening on this morning. Now, if you don't do anything else today, go out and do what Bishop Royster would say if he were here and closing out the show. Go out and change the damn world. Because if you don't, nobody else will. We'll see you tomorrow, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Peace.